Hi guys and welcome back. It's Jason, and this week we're talking about The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a one-off fantasy novel which is kind of a neat concept. As most fantasy readers know, we are used to, if we're talking about a trilogy, a fantasy trilogy, we're talking usually of at least a 5-year investment of our time. With this is a roughly 800 plus page book. It's a one-off story from beginning to end. You get the complete story in this one book, which is a novel concept for most fantasy stories today. Priory of the Orange Tree takes place in a world where it's basically East versus West, and it focuses a lot around dragons. As you can see on the cover, there's a dragon around the tower here, and in the West, dragons are the ultimate evil. They hunt them, they kill them, there's nothing good about a dragon. On the flip side of that, in the East, dragons are revered as gods, and they train dragon riders, and one of the main characters in the book is training to become a dragon rider, and the dragons choose their rider, and it's a whole different concept on that side. Whereas one side of the world, the western side of the world, it's more they want to destroy the dragons and wipe them out from the world. Now, as you'll come to realize with me, I love a good map in a fantasy book, so Priory does have a single map at the front of the book. It's okay. It shows you the world. It's not extremely detailed, but it gives you perspective of where things are happening and distances and stuff like that. So that's not bad. I would have liked if they'd drilled down a little bit more on the individual kingdoms of where people were, but they didn't do that. So I like that in all books, to be honest, if they show more specifics in the maps. The book is a little slow at the beginning. There is about probably the first couple hundred pages of this book. I mean, it's all world building. When you consider that you've got a story in one book, you're going to have a considerable amount of world building at the beginning of the book. So the first couple of pages, 100 pages, are a little bit slow when it comes to the pacing, and there's some lulls throughout, but it's not too bad. It starts to pick up after that, and you get more heavily into the story. Basically, it's setting up the 4 main characters that are in this book, and they set you off down the path of each. So that takes a little bit of time. There is a LGBTQ element in this book where the main relationship is between 2 women, which is awesome. It's not too heavy-handed. It's not too in-your-face. It's very well done. It's very well written, and it's something that I enjoyed in a fantasy environment, which I find you tend to find a lot more in a fantasy environment, especially newer books today, and I enjoyed it in this one, no question at all. You can see how Samantha Shannon is moving the pieces around throughout the book to come to the inevitable conclusion. Now, throughout the book, there is an impending doom of, now I'm trying to keep this as spoiler-free as I can. There is an impending doom of an ancient evil they call the Nameless One, which is supposedly waking up after a 1,000-year slumber, and they're trying to get all their pieces in a place to either prevent that or be prepared to fight that battle for life when that eventuality actually happens. So that's kind of where the premise of the book. You've got these 2 different warring sides of the world that see the outcome of the Nameless One waking in a different way, but they both don't want it to happen. So the 4 main characters move throughout the 2 worlds, and 2, I guess you could say, countries. Well, no, it's not even countries. It's more sides of the continents, I guess you could say. There's a lot of diversity of subject in the book. There is death, there's disability, there's relationships, there's sexual orientation, there's mental illness. So there's a diversity in the book. But one thing that I did find about characters, the Nameless One backstory, it was a little weak to me, and the ultimate climactic conclusion, it worked. The final battle, whatever you want to call it, it worked, but the overall scene itself was a little bit on the weak side, but it worked for the story and the conclusion. So I would have liked to have seen that fleshed out a little bit more, so that set back the overall story for me just a little bit. Now, while I do appreciate that this was a one-off story, this easily could have been 3 books. No question at all. It would have been great to see one character that I really enjoyed, Tane, I believe that's how it was pronounced. Tane is one of the dragon riders from the west, the one that is training to be a dragon rider. Sorry, from the east. And I would have liked to have seen her character rounded up much more. I definitely would have liked to have seen a bit more backstory with Ede, who is one of the main characters, the witches from the Priory, which definitely would have been interesting to see. They also, like I said previously, could have fleshed out the story of the Nameless One and the final climax of the book a little bit more with a conjunctive series. Like, so if you, for example, if you, this is an 800-page book, maybe you could have had 3 500-page books and just flesh this out just a little bit more. I don't know what the decision process was behind. Maybe Samantha Shannon only wanted this to be one book, wanted it to be a story from beginning to end. Now, nothing against this story. This is still a good story. It's still full and complete. I would have enjoyed the characters to be fleshed out just a little bit more, but definitely this is still a good read. This book's got a little bit of everything: politics, witchcraft, fantasy. Probably one of the things that bugged me the most was, for me personally, in the West, in Sabran's kingdom, they have that old way, a little bit of that old English style of speaking, like "Verily, Sir Knight," blah blah. That just hurts my brain when I read it. I don't know why. It's always been something that when they talk like that, it just that I could have done without, but it's not too heavy-handed in this one, like I've seen it in some other books, so it wasn't too bad. Like I said, this book's got a little bit of everything: politics, witchcraft, knights and dragons and dragon riders and an ultimate evil and evil people that go along with the ultimate evil, and warring countries and death and arranged marriages and all kinds of stuff. So it's well-rounded. There's all kinds of stuff in this book, and basically if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it about a 4 out of 5. Like I said, you could have even made this a 1,000-page book and fleshed out those characters a little bit more, and I would have given it a little bit higher rating than that. But overall, I definitely enjoyed The Priory of the Orange Tree. I will link where you can pick it up down below. It's definitely a good read if you're looking for a one-off book versus having to wait for a whole series to complete. And if you read The Priory already, or you do read it, I'd love to hear what you think about it down below. Please leave me a comment. While you're down there, hit like if you like this video, and I will see you again next time.